In this video, I'm going to talk about an emerging trend in blockchain technology that can disrupt pretty much every consumer-facing business as we know it. This could be even bigger than cryptocurrency and decentralized finance or DeFi. And so I'm going to explain what it is and what you need to know about it. And this is the first time that I've ever covered this topic on my channel today, and I'm super excited to share it with you as a blockchain developer who works with this technology on a daily basis. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. Okay, so what is this big disruptive force that's on the horizon for blockchain? Well, it's social tokens. So what are these? Well, basically, it's a way of creating a token that's actually centered around a community, where the token actually benefits the members of the community, and it completely unlocks the possibility for how different people across the world can coordinate for a common mission within a community. So whether that's supporting their favorite content creator, participating in some sort of online community itself, or even patronizing major brands. This could be a major game changer that disrupts how you interact with pretty much every consumer-facing business on Earth. And so I want to break down how that's possible. And I think one good resource that illustrates this really well is this interview that I just got finished watching with Raoul Pal from The Defiant. This is an interview where he talks about, the future of blockchain technology, why he thinks that Ethereum is the biggest, clearest bet that's staring us right in the face. But inside this episode, he talks about social tokens, and I want to lay out some of the points that he makes. And so I'm going to put a link to this video down in the description below. Definitely go make sure you subscribe to that channel and watch this video, because I'm going to draw from some of these ideas pretty liberally right now. So the first major point that comes out of this video is that he thinks that social tokens can actually be even bigger than DeFi. Now, keep in mind who's saying this. This is Raoul. He's the founder and CEO of Real Vision, ex-Goldman Sachs, retired early. And so he, of course, has a very impressive list of credentials, but he also has a pretty impressive track record on identifying trends early and predicting where they're headed. And so one of the reasons that he thinks that, social tokens can actually be bigger than decentralized finance or DeFi is because, DeFi really has the power to disrupt banks and financial institutions, but social tokens have the power to disrupt every kind of business, even outside the financial sector. And so why is that? Why are they so revolutionary? Well, ultimately because they have a way to assign value to a community itself, and that members of this community can actually get value from being a part of the community, not somebody outside getting value from this community getting bigger. And so let's just look at some examples to explain how this works. So you can see social tokens basically being categorized into three food groups here. Again, I'll put a link to this particular article down in the description below for full credit. But basically you have personal tokens, where you might have a token issued by a personal content creator, maybe like a YouTuber or a social media influencer. Community tokens that are issued and controlled by a group, often managed by a decentralized autonomous organization or a DAO, or social platform tokens that represent control over a platform that facilitates a social token issuance and exchange. And so let's use some examples so that you can see how this works. Let's start really small with probably one of the most common use cases where people are trying experiments, which is basically a social token around, influencers or content creators. This could even be musicians as well. So basically anybody where you have fans, and these fans can hold a token, and this token is part of your community. And basically people who hold those tokens actually have special privileges within that community. And the more people hold that token, the more valuable the token itself can become. And so if they're part of your community, let's say you're a DJ, for example, maybe they get exclusive rights to early releases, maybe some input on some creative direction, special bonus perks, and things like that. All right. So that's a pretty small example, but let's talk about it being even bigger so that you can see how this could really disrupt pretty much any consumer-facing business. So I'll talk about an example that Raoul uses in that video that I've linked down below with The Defiant. So he uses an example of Disney. So what if Disney were to adopt a social token? What would that look like, and why would it be such a massive game changer? Well, think about it this way. Disney has about 3 billion people that are a part of its customer base, but they have a massive problem. They don't always have direct access to these fans. You have to think about the business's incentives to why they might use this in the first place. So if they want to, get back to their customers or, get the word out to their customers, then they essentially have to, rent them back from, the social platforms that they're a part of. Maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's YouTube or Google. They'll buy ads on these platforms to try to reach their customers again. Okay. They'll pay for advertising to do this. but because they don't have that direct relationship with their fans. But social tokens can change this dynamic, where basically if you have a social token that represents part of being the Disney ecosystem, you can get that direct access. And now this token is the currency of the Disney world, because Disney's a massive brand, and this currency can be used in a variety of places. It can be used for theme parks, it can be used for Disney merchandise, it can be used for films. And so that introduces all these new incentives for the fans to hold the token, because they can get discounts, they can see a film early, they can get bonuses at a theme park, not have to wait in line or something like that. And really what it does is it changes how these communities work. And there's already a huge, economic community around Disney. Like I was saying, there are people who sell Disney themed toys, Disney apparel, but as a token holder, now you can get benefits from that ecosystem in a way that you couldn't get before. And that's why this is such a game changer, because as this community gets more valuable, the token gets more value, and then that value actually accrues to the community itself, the people who hold the tokens, not necessarily just the shareholders of a corporation. That's a huge game changer. It makes this more decentralized, where the participants of the network can actually get benefits themselves, not just the issuer. And so we've already seen, attempts at this with other businesses like Facebook, trying to launch the Libra coin, or also renamed to Diem, which is basically a stable coin to power the Facebook economy. And this is about 3.5 billion people. And if they're able to pull this off, then it's really likely that other social media platforms and other tech companies will try to do the same thing, like YouTube, Spotify, etc., etc. And another big point that Raul makes in that video, again, I've linked down below, is that this really changes how pretty much all network effect businesses work. He says it's basically just as a game changer for how all network effect driven businesses work. So quick recap, what is a network effect? Well, essentially, if you're talking about any, business that takes a lot of people that are connected with one another, and that's where the value is, let's say a social media platform, for example, it's pretty easy to build a Facebook clone, but that Facebook clone isn't valuable unless you have the same types of users that are on Facebook and the same number of users, because Facebook becomes more valuable the more people are on it, the more friends that you can make, the more status updates you can make. We see lots of network effect driven businesses across tech, Uber. Amazon's a network effect driven business. The more merchants are on there, the more buyers and sellers. The list just goes on and on. But the game changer for how this works is when you have all these users that are a part of this system, they're essentially a community. And if you can issue a social token that's a part of that community, and you can introduce all these benefits like I was talking about before, maybe it's discounts, maybe it's special perks, whatever, that they get the incentive to hold this token, and then that token actually increases in value, and that value can go back to the participants of the community, not just the shareholders of the company. That's the massive game changer here. Because when you do this, then you essentially have users who are economically incentivized to see this community grow. And they actually make the businesses that they patronize more valuable, because network effect driven businesses are more valuable the more people enter into that network. And when you have people who hold these social tokens, they are way more likely to actually evangelize the business and bring more people into it, because they're getting these benefits. Now, all this sounds like it's got a ton of promise, but there, of course, are some challenges on the horizon. I want to talk about this right now. So the biggest one is most likely regulatory uncertainty about how this is going to work, particularly with, financial regulators. And this is probably one of the bigger reasons that you're going to see, smaller players leading the way, whether it's smaller companies, smaller, communities that have less to lose, or maybe the, bigger companies that have a much higher risk tolerance for trying new things like this. But one quote that I wanted to read from that interview from Raul here is he said this: "So I spend a lot of time in this space, and I'm having conversations with all sorts of people, and this is on the radar screen of every media company, every talent management business, every record label, every major brand, particularly fashion brands, that they get it. But different people are at different stages. It hasn't really been done yet, and you'll find people who can take the most risk will take the risk first. If not, it will be the bravest of the big brands, and it'll be fascinating to see how this plays out." And so if we can actually come over these regulatory hurdles and get clarity on, what people can do in this space, and if people can actually crack that code and find a working model, then it's very likely that the first person to do this, sort of win that race, is going to lead the way and set the stage for how other people can do that. And lots of other people are likely going to, follow suit. And that's why this is such a big game changer, is because, pretty much any consumer-facing business, especially network effect-driven businesses, can benefit from this, and so can the individual members who patronize those businesses and are a part of those communities, and can lead to just rapid growth, expansion, and innovation that can be way bigger than decentralized finance or DeFi or any cryptocurrency that we know today. And that's why this is such a major potential trend and a big game changer down the horizon. So that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. If you like these videos, as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You go to my YouTube homepage, you can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master's shortcut entirely, I can show you how to become a blockchain master step-by-step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.